Hey YouTubers, okay, I have a 1980 Honda 750. I have looked extensively on YouTube, could not find really a definitive guide for checking valve clearances on this bike. So what I've tried to do is, nothing about mechanics. I just read the manual and I went ahead and tried to go through the motions based on the manual. And anyway, here you go. I apologize, I'm half blind, and so I have to use a flashlight to see what I was doing. So there's a little burnout on the screen, and I will post the results of my test as a at the tail end of the video. Okay, so enjoy. Okay, this is a video on how to adjust a 1980 CB750K Honda, and I'm not a mechanic, I'm a retired banker, so I'm not a mechanic. I don't even play one on TV. At any rate, I could not find any definitive YouTube videos on this procedure, so I ran through it once and I thought I would just record it this time. So first things first, this is the manual. If you can take a screenshot of this, maybe you can see exactly what's required, but I'm going to walk you through it anyway. So the first thing to be done is we got to get the cam shaft in the proper position, and we have to continually rotate it to take the readings. Now here's what you've got. There's 16 valves on these engines. You got 8 exhaust, 8 intake, 4 cylinders. So when we do the first camshaft rotation, we will be checking the clearances for cylinders 1 and 3. So 1 and 3. Then we're going to rotate the camshaft again and do 2 and 4. And they're going to alternate between the intake and the exhaust, but I will illustrate. And you may want to prepare something like this, kind of a log. And this is the structure that I think it works best, at least for my brain. And I'm going to face this, I'm going to orient this to the direction of the bike. So these cylinders 1, 2, 3, 4 line up this way, and the valves for each cylinder go across linearly. Exhaust is in the front and intake is in the back. These are the clearances. It's 0.08 millimeters, plus or minus these numbers, 5 and 2, and here's the net numbers. So your maximum clearance cannot be above 0.13 millimeters, cannot be below 0.06 millimeters. And that does translate into American SAE values in the manual as well, which are simply 0.003 inches plus 0.002 minus 0.001. Anyway, but I'm going to try to stick with these millimeter readings, even though I don't really have enough to combine to step the readings to know exactly what the measurements are, but I'll know the maximums and minimums. Anyway, what I did was I laid out an old Craftsman feeler gauge set here so that I can clearly see all the numbers, and I can add up a couple if I want, and that seems to be working okay. So let us begin. Number 1, we have to rotate the crankshaft clockwise on the right side, which I'll illustrate, and align an index mark to the front end of the cylinder head mating surface. So blah blah blah. What that really means is we're going to come around to this side, and you'll see right here is the point we want on this front cam. Here's our mark right there, illustrated by the laser dot. So I'm going to rotate this. To do this, you must remove the AC cover, and if you do that, when you do that, make sure you've got a support here because you don't want any tension on this wire. So I'm going to go ahead and this is 17 millimeter. I'm just going to slowly roll this. Actually, you don't have to worry about top dead center and all that kind of jazz, because for this test it's very clear in the manual. You're just simply rotating this over and you're going to align it to that mark. So now the mark is right here. I've got it right lined up with this. Okay, so I roll over to this side. Now we're going to check for the manual when it's in this position. Cylinders number 1 and 3 exhaust only. So cylinders 1 and 3 exhaust only. So it's this bank here. These two and these two. Notice how the cams are the lobes are way out of the way. These are our shims. This bike does not have any kind of tappet adjustment. You adjust with these crazy shims. So at any rate, we're going to take a feeler gauge, and we're going to start with the minimum, which would be 0.08. So, all things being equal, it should slide right in and out of this area here, right there. Ooh, okay, it goes right in there, but it's pretty loose. And there's that one, pretty loose. So let's see. So that's 0.08. Now, I don't have a 0.09, right? I have 0.10. We can try that, see if it goes through. Yes, it does. Barely. It doesn't there. So let's call this, this is our exhaust valve position 2 is 0.1 millimeters. So I'm going to come over this thing. This is laid out the same way. So this is 0.10. Now, we still have to determine what this is. We know it's less than that, so we can actually see it is more than 8 and less than 10. So what's that? 9. So we'll take a 5 and a 4, 0.05, 0.04 millimeter. We combine them like so, and it should slide in there. And it actually, yeah, very, very tight. Didn't go in. So I would have to say that that basically is 0.08. So that's our reading. Yep, that's it. 0.9 will not work, so 0.8 it is. 0.08. So that one's a little high, but we can go up to 13 millimeters, 0.13 millimeters. So when we proceed along this thing, we're going to do now cylinder number 3. Let's take our 8 with us. We're on cylinder number 3, exhaust cylinder 3, exhaust only. Slides right in. Whoop. Slides right in. So that's 0.08. So let's try a 10. Remember, we cannot go above 13. 13 is the max. So here's 10. If I could pick them up, you may want to get a little magnetic thing like this. It's a lot easier. And this is 10. Okay, so that fits right in. That's very tight. I'm going to call this 10. So that's 10 perfect there. Okay, put this back in alignment. Now, that was cylinder 3. 10 on each, see? Cylinder 1, 2, 3. We're skipping 2 and 4, so this lays out the way the engine lays out. So 0.10, 0.10. So we're still within our tolerance. Now, what we're going to do is switch to 1 and 3 intake. And to do that, we rotate the camshaft 90 degrees clockwise with our 17 millimeter. Oop, that's 14. There's 17. Come here, you pesky 17. Okay, now watch what this mark is, 90 degrees. It's going to point straight down in alignment with this bolt hole right here. There we go, right there. And as an illustrative tool, that's where it's going to be, right there, right in alignment here. So we've gone from here, 90 degrees to there. Sorry for the shaky hands. 14 cups of coffee today. Anyway, what we're going to do is the 1 and 3 still, we're on 1 and 3, but now we're doing the intake, and it's the same measurement. So we're going to pick up our 8 again. That is our little standard. 1 and 3 on the other side of the frame. 1, okay, goes in there, kind of like loosely. And let's try 10. So that's up slightly. 10, okay, look at that, will not go in. 10 does not go in. 10 does go in on this side, and I'll tell you, that's what that is. So let's call this a 8 or a 9, and this is a 10. So if that's 10, we can try 9 if we want to be super precise. For a 40-year-old motorcycle, may not be required. Anyway, but does that go in? Yeah, yeah, that's kind of going in there. So I'm going to call this 9 and 10. So 9 and 10. On the outside was 10. And inside one was 9. Okay. So 09. Whoop. So here we go. So now we're going to do the intake on cylinder 3. And we're going to take our 10, and we're going to take our 9, and we're going to take our 8. And again, get a magnetic pickup. You're going to go insane like I've been going. So, number 3, right? Intake, right? And here's our test. Goes in nicely. And let's stick with that one. Let's try 10. Nope. Does that mean it must be a 9? How do I get 9? 5 and 4 is 9. 9. 9 will not go. So I'm going to record that one, which is, again, linearly lined up with how the bike is facing. This is 0.09. I'm going to do the one adjacent to it. This is 8. Okay. Sloppy. 10. Won't go. What do you say? I think it's a 9. 9. Let's see. Okay, baby. 9. Oop. 9 will not go. What do you know? So that's 0.08. So 0.08. So they're really kind of interesting how they're all over the map. Now, we're going to rotate the camshaft. Guess what? Again, another 90 degrees clockwise. Then we're going to be able to do number 2 and 4 exhaust. Rotate it. 17 millimeter. Okay, and I'll just kind of tell you when we're there, and then I'll show it with the laser. Okay, so now we're at this position. So we've gone from here, now we're right here. See that? From there to there. So now we're 90 degrees. We're up with this mating mark. We'll take our little gauges, roll to the other side. And what are we checking? We are checking intake. I'm sorry, exhaust 2 and 4. So now we're doing exhaust 2 and 4. Flashlight, right? Exhaust 2, and then on the edge. So here's 8 exhaust. 8 exhaust. Eight is very kind of loose on both sides. Seems a little looser on this 1, 2, 3, number 3. So that's 8. So let's try 10. 10 goes in there. Okay, so that's a bummer because 10, I didn't want that to happen. That 10 goes above. So I don't have 11, don't have 12, so I'm going to go right to the max, which is 13. Okay, 13 will not go in. Sorry. 13 does not go in. 13 does not go in. So I can't get 12. So I'm going to call it a 10 because I cannot get 11 or 12. So we'll just call it a 10. I'm going to call that one a 10. 10. This was the 8, so we're going to go 10 on the other one. So 10 goes in, and we'll try the 13. This is the maximum. So 13. So we're below the max. So I'm going to call it a 10. Okay, so now we're going to go to cylinder 4, take our favorite little parts, this one, and there's 5, and then there's 4 and an 8. So we'll start with an 8. 8. Okay, 8. Looks a little odd. Double checking something here. Oh, okay, yes. See, it's hard to keep this straight in your head. Okay, exhaust 2 and 4. Exhaust was 2 and exhaust 4. I was on the intake, my mistake. So, exhaust. Okay, that's 8. 8. Let's try a 10. High side it. 10. 10 will not go in. So I'm going to call that an 8. Now I could check it with my 9, which I'm combining 2 feeler gauges. 9 doesn't go in. So I'm going to call that an 8. And I'm over here, 0.08. Now I'm going to do the other one. And we're going to try, go the other direction. 13 won't fit. 10 won't go in. 8, perfect. Could be a 9, let's see. 9, 9, 9, 9, no, 8. So 0.08. 0.08. So now we're just down to the last 2, which are the intakes for cylinders 2 and cylinders 4. And once again, 2 and 4 rotate the camshaft another 90 degrees. Another 90 degrees, 17 millimeter. 90 degrees, so it's going to be pointing straight up. So that, straight up. And we're going to take our feeler gauges. We're going to roll over to cylinder 2, intake. Cylinder 2, intake. And we'll start with 0.08. 0.08. Hey. Now that's interesting. 0.08 barely goes in, kind of tight. Oh, there we go. Okay. Maybe there was just a little something on the edge. So, oh, Yeah. Do not put it in backwards. 8, 8. And we'll try our 10. Jump right to our 10. No go on 10. No go on 10. Oh, 10 on this side. Ooh, okay, so that's interesting. 10. Let's do the limit. 13. Where are you, 13? Okay. 13 is hiding. So this is 13. Take 10 out. 13 will not go, thank goodness. So it's above 10 and below 13. So I'm going to call it 10 because they don't have 11, don't have 12. So we're going to call this one. Now, see, very easy to get kind of waylaid. I'll call this 10. And this we'll try and 9 again for these two babies. 4 and 5, yes. 9 does not take a 9, so that is 8. So we've got 2 valves left, the intake side on cylinder 4, and we'll start with our conventional 8 and 10 and our 9. Okay. So again, we are on cylinder 4. 8, 10, 10. I'm going to call this a 10 because that's pretty tight. So that's 10. 0.10. And this is a 10. Okay, ooh, 10 was sloppy. So I'm going to have to try a 13. Which is, oh, there it is. Pickup sticks. So 13, I hope it doesn't go in. Oh, it does go in. So 13. Now, so that's the maximum, which is the only maximum I've hit so far. So can we make a 14? We've got a 10. $18, $15, $13. That's got to be it right there. 8. Oh, it's 20. Holy God. Okay. I need a 10 and a 4. Still over here? Okay. 10. There's a 4. Oh, that's a 10. And this is 5. This is 4. So this is 14. If this slides in, then we would have to technically shim this thing. Aha! Does not slide in. So, you know what? I dodged another bullet like so many other times in my life. So, this is at the maximum. But you know what? It's close enough for banking, as we used to say. So these are the readings. This is what we got.